Okay, now I think we are live and we can get started. Right. So, hello and welcome everyone to our online cooking class/workshop today. We are kicking off this year today with our topic back to school/office. I know it's unavoidable, and we've heard the news. We are ready to go back to the offices too, and obviously we need to get our head around the topic of lunchboxes again. And what we have planned today is a little bit of mixture of classic lunchbox ideas, but also we found a couple of recipes where we thought that's not a typical one, but we want to give you the idea about what else is possible. My name's Jenny Falter. I'm one of the local team leaders here in the Bayside area in Melbourne. And today, together with me, I have a couple of team members who are going to present and cook with me. That is Melissa Miller, that is Elizabeth Aloni, Monsi Paris, and in the background managing the chat box and spotlighting, so she's really busy, is today Katja. So thanks in advance for everyone joining me today and doing this together with me. All right, so now I want you all to lean back and enjoy our show, and let's have some fun in the kitchen. We are kicking off our today's menu with Melissa. She is going to show us a classic recipe of the cheesy mark scrolls.
Hello everyone, thank you Jenny. Yes, cheesy mark scrolls are a favourite in my house. Make them every now and again. They are easy to make once you've seen them being made. They freeze really well, so they're great for lunchboxes, and you don't have to limit them to just cheese and Vegemite. You can do grown-up versions, you can do sweet versions, but once you see the technique of rolling, cutting, which is what I'm going to show you today, you'll be able to do whatever you like. So I have actually pre-made the dough. I actually pre-made it an hour ago and then forgot. So forgot that we were starting at 2 because I got confused. So I made a loaf of bread with what I'd already made. And because that was in the oven, I've had to get very creative with my proving because I normally prove in the oven. So what I've done is filled my oval thermoserve with boiling water, and the dough has just been sitting on the top of that for about 20 minutes and it's ready to go. So what I would normally do is just have my oven on very low, say 40 or 50 degrees, just with no fan, and I'll just stick the dough in, and that's how I prove it. It's foolproof, it works every time. And then you're not reliant on warm weather, a sunny spot, ducted heating, all of those things, and especially during the Melbourne winter. Everyone says that proving dough can be a challenge, but if you just get used to that, or sitting on your thermoserver, you can't go wrong. I think I saw Katya. If anyone's got any questions, yell out. I can't read because I'm making stuff, but just yell out if you have any questions. So that's my dough that's been sitting there.
Yeah, yes, Jenny? Just out there. So they put the questions in the chat box, and Katja will kindly read them out for us.
Yeah. All right. So I have got the good old bread mat, which is an absolute beauty because nothing sticks to it. It's great for dough, great for pastries. It's insulated, so it's also really good for proving, as well as the fact that it's a non-stick silicone mat. So I'm pretty much going to roll out my dough to the size of the mat. And you need it to be fairly thin because you're going to roll it up and you've got several layers in your roll. So while I'm doing this and getting quite a workout at the time, the bread recipe that Katya just posted in the link, I use that recipe to make rolls, scrolls, a loaf of bread, twists, anything. That's just my go-to bread recipe. It's easy, it works every time. It was actually developed by the wife of a baker, I think, so it works. There was another one that I used to make that was actually a bit fiddly and the dough was a bit wet, but this one just works beautifully every time. I've even got my kids to make dough. All right, that'll do.
Melissa, I actually have a question myself. Did you use fresh yeast or dry yeast or bread improver? What did you use?
Yes, I use bread improver, and I also used dried yeast, but last year when we had the shortage of absolutely everything. Fresh yeast was easier to find, so I used that. But the result, I use bread improver. I think that actually makes a really nice soft bread. So I do use the bread improver. Both of those you can buy at any supermarket, and both need to live in the fridge once you've opened them too, which is also an important point. So obviously I'm doing plain old cheesy mite scrolls. My kids actually prefer pizza scrolls. So instead of Vegemite, I will do tomato paste and some grated cheese and some shredded ham and some crushed pineapple. Or you could do make yourself some pesto and some grated cheese. A pumpkin hummus is really nice with some feta and some pine nuts and some baby spinach, bit of some sun-dried tomatoes or something like that. You can basically fill it with whatever your little heart desires, whatever you'd like in a sandwich. Any of that sort of stuff, prosciutto, bocconcini, baby spinach, all that kind of stuff. Then you can do sweet ones as well with you've got your cinnamon scrolls, which are amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you can see, I've left a little strip up the top here, and that's deliberate. So now I'm just going to, now the other thing I've got here is a combination of tasty and Swiss, because, I don't know, I just think that it tastes nicer. It's a bit different texture, and I think that it's just a little bit different.
I just have a question, Melissa. Could you do sweet one with chocolate and banana as well?
Yes, you could do chocolate and banana. I actually made some for my book club a year or so ago with raspberry jam and some like a chocolate sauce in the middle, and then roll them up and do a chocolate icing on the top and sprinkle it with coconut. So
it wouldn't go too soggy because of the banana, no?
Well, you're going to cook it. So my only piece of advice, there you go. I didn't think that was going to be, I thought that was going to be too much, but I was going to say any leftovers, just stick in a Ziploc bag and stick it in the freezer. It's great to always have grated cheese in the freezer. So when you're talking about other fillings, this is quite good, and I'm patting it down just to make it easy. You don't want to make your fillings too wet. It's not going to matter. It's not going to affect the taste, or it just makes it harder to roll the wetter it is on the inside. Excuse me. So yes, if you haven't got if you try not to have too much in there, and not too wet. So obviously drain your pineapple well and that sort of stuff. Apple and custard is another good one.
Did you grate the cheese in the Thermomix?
I sure did.
You must have, no?
Sure did. I did that before as well. So I've got this little dough scraper that I use. I just sort of unstick the start of the dough, and then I'm just rolling it. And the tighter you can roll it, the better it's going to look. And if it gets stuck, just do this all the way along, and then you get to this point, and then you can just keep rolling.
And you have a really nice mat you're using there, Melissa.
It is a very good mat for a variety of reasons, Katia. Yes. So then I get to that point, bring it back, squish it all down. Now I've got a large tray here. So it's really not hard. The creative part of it, the hardest part's coming up with what you're going to put in the middle. And with all bread making, obviously the proving is actually the trickiest part, but once you've got that down pat, the rest of it is easy. So you just sort of neaten up the ends. This is really good. I think you can get these from the MixShop. They're just little dough scrapers. Now, the golden rule of working with these mats is that you don't cut on them. However, I'm going to break my golden rule, but just to cut maybe 2/3 of the way through. So you can make pinwheels and cut them really thinly if you want to, but they will grow when they prove for the next time, and then again when they cook. So I'm sort of doing them, I don't know, maybe that'd be about maybe 5 centimeters. Now, when you look at how many you can make compared to how much they would cost at Baker's Delight for one, it's just a no-brainer. Why would you buy them? And the best part is you get to the end and you go, oh, I've got this really little one. Well, then that's the cooked sample. You get to taste that at the end. So then I'm coming back to my dough scraper just to go through the rest. Lift it up. Come here. There we go. I'm going to actually put him face down and squash because I am going to sprinkle some more cheese on them before they cook.
You could use your spatula as well, no? From the Thermomix,
you could. I find this a little bit easier, but as you can see, they're all beautiful and they like to snuggle up nice and close on your baking tray, like scones, and that kind of support each other. A bit like our Thermomix team, Jenny. Sorry, that's very cheesy, isn't it?
Well,
it's very unlike me to be quite as cheesy as that. Oh, get a cheesy one.
Another one.
Oh, I really got to go back to bed and start again. This is terrible.
You're on a roll.
Get it? Roll. Stop. Enough. All right. So looks like I'm making 9 with a cooked sample at the end, which is pretty good. So 9, what are they, about $3 Baker's Delight? Not going to cost you $30 to make these. So I'm going to, there we go. So you can see how I sort of put them, might snuggle them up a bit more. So they're close enough together without touching. So now what I'm going to do is put them back in my warm oven, and the thermoserver, which is over here, let me just get rid of this cheesy Vegemite mess here. So the thermoserver that's still obviously full of boiling water, I'm going to sit that on the lower rack so the steam, and shut the door, so the steam and the warmth creates a sauna for your bread, which is ideal proving conditions. So I'm going to prove them for about 20-25 minutes, and then I'm just going to brush them with a bit of milk and sprinkle them with a bit more cheese, but I'll wave and come back and show you what they look like when they've proved and ready to go in the oven. Anyone got any questions before we move on to somebody else?
No questions so far, no?
No questions? All right, lovely. I'll see you all in a little while.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much, Melissa. I always learn something new when I watch you with your vast bread making knowledge. So thanks so much for sharing that with us today. And I think I'm next up running, and I'm going to show you today the quinoa muffins to make them for your lunch boxes. So when you go onto Cookie Dough and you're going to search for the quinoa muffins, I just want to give you a heads up that there are actually 2 versions available. One of them is from the Cooking for You and Me. That is basically half of the recipe I'm making today. And then here, what I'm doing is the double, or say one is for 1 or 2 portions, and the same recipe, just with the double amount of ingredients. So just have a look from the amount of the ingredients that you're picking, the one that's suitable for you. Okay, so now I need to, I think, am I spotlighted?
Yeah, you're spotlighted.
Because someone said they can't see me. Can we just double check?
Really? Because
I think
I cancel the spotlight and then I do it again, maybe.
Hang on, let me try this. I hope that's better. Okay. Anyway, so sorry for the technical issues we have here. So let's go on over here to my Thermomix, and 1 second. I hope the camera will adjust so you can actually see my screen. All right, and here we are. That is, so screen on the TM6, and I've shown you once now how we're going to access that recipe, because later on I want to show you how we can use the meal planning function of Cookie Dough, and also how to create a shopping list and order ingredients from our Cookie Dough recipes online. Okay, so on my home screen, I go into my week because I've already set up this whole menu from today into my weekly meal plan. Touching on the recipe, and all I need to do is click on Start Cooking. It starts with the first step, preheat the oven. That's what's already happening in the background. And now it wants me to 12 silicone cupcake molds onto a 12-hole muffin tray and setting that aside. So before we do that, I want to quickly show you a couple of options that you have. So different baking molds basically that we have available in the MixShop. So this is the 12-one normal cupcake muffin tray. I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to use the 24 one. So depending on the size of your loved ones that you want to make the lunch boxes for, these are probably for little fingers a little bit more attractive than a whole big muffin. So they probably rather prefer 2 of them than one big one. And alternatively, there's also available these silicone trays. So there's only 7, but they're a bit larger. So I'm going to use the 24 today. So basically, no matter what kind of size you want, but you get all the options that as to your liking, so you can create them to your liking. All right, so we don't need to do that. Going back in here. So now, earlier we had the question about grating cheese, and that's what we're going to do next. So basically here, I'm just taking my lid off, and that's what I quickly want to point out. This is when a lot of weighing errors happening. When you take the lid off and you try to start weighing in your ingredients first, always check the scales, because when you take the lid off, the scales will go into minus. So always make sure you tear back to 0. And here it's going to ask for 100 grams of cheddar cheese, and I'm using a different cheese today because that's what I had in my fridge. This is a great recipe also for leftovers. So if you had a cheese board the other night and you want to get rid of or you want to use up the rest of the cheese that you found in the fridge, then that's a great recipe where you can use any type of cheeses actually that you want. The softer the cheese, and also just a hint, because stripping your blades very often happens when people try to grate cheese. The softer your cheese is, the smaller the pieces should be. All right, so Parmesan can be harder, it's a harder cheese that can be bigger, but with the softer cheese, I definitely recommend cutting them into smaller pieces, because you don't want to get your blades stuck in a cheese piece. Right, so now I've got 93, that's fine, and it says 40 grams of Parmesan. So I've pre-baked that earlier, a little bit more Parmesan than the other cheese, but that's basically not a problem at all. So now we're popping the lid back on top and going on next. So now we're grating the cheese. That's only 10 seconds, and it asks us to turn speed selector to 9. I'm going to do that. Hopefully it's not too loud. Fantastic. I hope the noise cancelling kicked in. Alright, so now I have grated cheese. Here we go.
Perfect.
Nice. Okay. And I'm going to set that aside, and well, ideally you have just one bowl where you pop it in. Now, demonstration purposes, I had 2, and now the double one obviously doesn't fit in, so I'm just going to take that out for now. So when we're scraping, we just scrape ideally from the top to the bottom, and then go clockwise using the backside, touching the backside of your blades to prevent your beautiful spatula being cut up. Right, the backside is blunt, and that way you keep your spatula in a good condition. Alright, so when we go next, it says to place 100 grams of water. I'm going to skip that step because in the next step, so I'm just putting the cheese aside for now. In the next couple of steps, we are going to cook or steam the quinoa in the simmering basket. I've already prepared that because we don't want to wait 20 minutes for that to be cooked. There's actually not a lot to see, but I'm going to talk you through. So now we would weigh in the water, the litre of water. Now the machine asks us to insert the simmering basket into the mixing bowl. So this is the simmering basket in case you haven't used it yet. The TM6 one comes with the lid. And the way I'm putting it in is I always align the handle with the opening of my simmering basket lid. All right, so that's the way it sits in. Did you know that you actually, when you press the simmering basket in, you can take it out and it won't fall out? Yay!
Great tip, Jenny.
Learn something new. All right, so in the next step, it wants us to weigh in 130 grams of quinoa. So obviously you open up the lid and you weigh in the next ingredient. And now it asks to put the lid back on top. Next, and now there's 20 minutes cooking time. All right, fast forward, you are supposed to take the simmering basket out again, and I just quickly want to show you how I do it. You can see where I stored my simmering basket. So in the 2.6 thermo server, which is also a host reward, I say also because the beautiful mat Melissa was using earlier is also a host reward. That fits inside the into the thermo server, and you can use that to either cool down or to soak brown rice, for example. Sorry, I can't do that one-handed. I need to use my second hand. And it fits in there. You can put the lid on top and use that from here. All right, putting that aside. So now we have cooked our quinoa, and now it wants us to remove the simmering basket and set it aside. So ideally, I hope you can see that. Ideally, you go along the handlebar again into the opening we had there earlier, and that little hook from your spatula will hook up the simmering basket to take it out. But what you want to do is later on you want to empty your simmering basket. So I always recommend use your spatula, open up the lid first, and then hook it in. All right. This way, when you are going to empty your simmering basket, you don't have the flap in the way. All right, makes sense? Okay, awesome. I haven't probably hooked it up. But if that would still be hot, right, then you just avoid burning yourself. It just makes it a little bit easier. Anyway, so that's going to sit aside for now. And now rinse and dry mixing bowl lid. I never do that if I don't have to. And so we're just continuing with the recipe. So fresh sprigs of flat leaf parsley, straight from my garden. What's a sprig? I always say to taste. Right? If you like it, put it in. If you don't like it, or if it's coriander, don't. Okay, the parsley. The spring onions, I always cut my spring onions like that and store them in a Tupperware container in the fridge. This way I always have it handy for any kind of dishes, but also for decorations. And so I'm just going to pop that in. You can have them a little bit longer if you like, just letting you know that because it's a wet ingredient, it won't chop finely as you probably would expect that to do. Anyway, chopping that for 3 seconds. Here we go. I just saw there's Melissa also shared a cheese grating tip with us whilst I'm scraping the bowl. Maybe Katja, you can read it out for us.
Yeah, so she actually said that she also grates, or cheese will grate up easier and finer if they are a little bit frozen. So if you keep it in the freezer, beforehand, then it's easier to grate in the Thermomix. Yeah.
That's perfect, yeah. And the same we do also for the meat, so slightly pre-frozen, always has finer chopping or greater grating or chopping results. All right, so now you've seen, so I basically just chopped that up. And again, it doesn't have to be parsley and spring onion. It can be anything. It can be a brown onion, it can be garlic, it can be really whatever you like, whatever you want. Even leek would work. And whatever you have in the fridge that needs to go. So this is also a great recipe to use up vegetables that have better days, let's say, or just don't look good enough for the dinner plate anymore, and just chuck them in. All right. So this is 130 grams of zucchini. It's like a small zucchini. If you do have fuzzy eaters at home, then I would recommend peeling the zucchini beforehand. So I have and obviously don't use the fresh herbs there. I have a fuzzy eater at home, and he detects everything green in his food, and then he obviously doesn't eat it. So if you want to avoid these coming back from the lunch boxes untouched, just a little tip: make them blending in. Use the white quinoa instead of the multicolored one, and peel the zucchini. Keep the peel, put them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, make veggie stock paste out of it so you're not wasting it. Whatever you're seasoning with veggie stock paste, they get the peel eventually. All right. Oops, another one. And continuing, we're basically chopping that up. And another 3 seconds. All right. And we're scraping again. As we do. I use a different spatula now for this time, so that's another one. I love that one with the long neck. Easier to scrape when I leave the bowl in there, because I'm able to go all the way to the bottom without having my fingers going into the bowl either. So now it says 100 grams of ham cut into slices. I'm using actually turkey slices today. Again, you can use anything. If you do have any leftover roast chicken, for example, that can go in there. But you could also add just other vegetables and make it a vegetarian version. All right, so really the sky's the limit. Whatever you have, pop it in there. Now coming 2 eggs, 2 whole eggs I should add. And in the next step, it's 2 egg whites. So that's going to be the glue that keeps our mini muffins here together. A pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper. Alright. And yep, that's the pepper. And now comes the reserved cheese. Alright, see, all very logical, all just one step after the other. And the reserved quinoa. So just taking that out. So I could have stored that. You still see me? I'm just going to scrape that out. You don't have to do the detour via the thermoserver, but for demonstration purposes. Whoops, here we go. I hope you all didn't get a splash of quinoa now. Yeah, definitely my cooking skills and not Thermomix fault. And here we go, insert our lid once more on top, and it's just 10 seconds mixing it up or combining that. Step, I'm going to transfer now this mixture. Show you.
So Gianni, you don't need to grease the muffin molds, no?
No, these ones I never grease them. because they are designed to, so they have a little bit of surface treatment on top, so they're non-sticky. And the more I would clean them, or the more I would, so not clean, the more I would grease them, the more I basically destroy the surface that's on it. So you will see later when I take them out that they should fall out just out of that form. I hope I can show you that without that I have to do the greasing work beforehand.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so you don't need to see that. I'll do that in the background now. Just transferring that into the oven. When you go for the 12 muffin ones, then obviously the cooking time I think is about 30 to 30 minutes or so. With the mini ones, they will be a bit shorter. That's also a reason why I've chosen them today. And I think we're heading over to Elizabeth's kitchen.
Yeah. Spotlight, Elizabeth. Here we go. Just need to mute yourself. Mute yourself.
Am I good?
Yeah, all good.
Great. Welcome everybody to my kitchen. You're in Blairgowrie. The sun shines sometimes, but mostly it's rain today and a little bit chilly. Today, or for this recipe, I'm doing, you see, I can't read that back to front, pork and chicken terrine. That's the pick. It is delicious. It's in the festive flavour collection, which is on Cookie Do, and there's a lot in there that transfers throughout the whole year. It's not necessarily limited to Christmas time. So we'll get started. And I've already got the recipe up, so I'm going to start cooking and we're off and running. Now, this is interesting. I've never really liked buying meat that's already minced, because preservatives can be thrown in there. So you can actually mince your own meat in your Thermomix. You have to pop it in the freezer just for a little while. I put this in for about 45 minutes and I'll be able to mince it. I've already weighed it out, so I'm not going to waste your time pretending that I haven't. And then I've got the pork in, and now the chicken. Bingo, off we go. Next, insert lid. Next. Now this is interesting. I don't know if you can see the screen, but it says turn the speed selector 7 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's quite fun. I'm quite thrilled with that. So let's see how that went, if I'm happy with that. I think I might be. So you saw the size of the cubes going in, they're 3 to 4 centimetres, and that I think is excellent. So I've got you now, I think, pop that aside. But you know what I love? Without cleaning the mixing bowl. So what I'm going to do is have a bowl out from here. Another little hint, just give it a bit of a twist there. And if there's anything added or came, brilliant. And don't you love it when it doesn't say wash the mixing bowl? Woo-hoo. So the next thing I'm going to do is put in my onion. So no, I have, oopsie. Hear it, silly me. Even when we use them a lot, and we can still forget that. So now that's a little bit over, and I think as cooks we understand where there's a little bit of flexibility in our weighing things. A little bit of extra onion, wouldn't mind that at all. 2 garlic cloves. Well, quite often when I see 2 garlic cloves, I'm sure they mean 4. The window's 4 for me. And the parsley sprigs. Now, I have had the best parsley in my garden. It has just taken over and I've been thrilled with it. Now, they say don't put the stalks in. Look, it gets chopped up and there's nutrients in the stalks too. So I'm not that fussy about not putting the stalks in. So you'll see me do that from time to time. I'm also inclined when we're using apples and they say core the apple. If it's getting chopped up, you're losing nutrients by not popping it in. Okay, I think that's our parsley done. So what have we got next? Whoopsie daisy. There we go. Same with the tone. Again, out of my garden. Very thrilled to have that. In she goes. And in goes the measuring cup again. So we're going to just give that a bit of a grind. And that's speed 5 for 3 seconds. Down the side of the bowl. Well, we all have our favourites. I've got this little baby one because I've got quite small hands. So I'll just show you how that's going. Just push that down at the sides. All good. I love my Thermomix. Makes my life so
I can see that because you got 3 in total, Elizabeth.
Well, it's going to make you cross when I say I've actually got 4, but you can't see the 4th.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so,
lucky you.
Yeah. 20 grams of olive oil. Now, I want to be a bit careful. I have made this before, and this is one of the areas probably to be a little bit prudent with. I don't want my mixture to be too wet. So that is just 1 gram shy, but I think that'll be fine. And on with the lid. So we're going to have a bit of a little cook now, I think, if I remember correctly. So it goes to Varoma, speed 1 for 2 minutes. Now, maybe somebody would like to have a little chat for those 2 minutes about cookie dough or about what we can get in the mix shop. What about you, Jenny? Do you want to have a little chat for a minute or two?
Yeah, all right, no worries about that. So I've started filling in the mixture into my mini muffin trays. I'm going to pop that now into the oven, and the rest of them I'm also going to make some bigger ones. And I want to show you quickly something that just arrived this week, and it's called, very timely, these are collapsible lunchboxes, and you can get them from the MixShop. So there's basically there's silicone, and when you don't need them and you want to store them in your cupboard, you can push them together and or collapse them back, and that's where we're going to put the muffins in later. And it comes with a lid. And in the lid, we have also a little cutlery in there. So it's like a spoon fork, so to speak. So one side is a fork and the other side is a spoon. So very handy to have when you don't have a lot of space in your kitchen. They're new to the mix shop, and I'm so happy that they have arrived in time so I can show them to you. There we go.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so I've got 16 seconds to go, and what I might talk to you about while we wait those 16 seconds is this beautiful little spritzing thing for oil, which means I don't need any more to put this into landfill. Right, next. Okay, 50 grams of white wine. I'm going to remember to tear it because I would cry if I got that wrong. And isn't it wonderful when you've just got that glass left in a bottle of wine and you can sort of go, well, I can use that into something that I'm cooking with. And you all know that this weighs to 1 gram. You could weigh a tissue on it. Isn't that awesome? There we go. This will be another 2-minute cook. I'm pretty sure about that. And it is. So who wants
Very easy and quick.
Look, this recipe looks, when you look at the picture, you think, oh no, that might be a little bit difficult, but it's actually very, very simple, and it is delicious. And it also keeps in the fridge for quite some time. It's a terrine, but there's no preservatives in it, but the fact that you've got the meat already cooked and it's got the fruit in it, it keeps for quite well. I've actually kept it in the fridge for a couple of weeks and used it over the Christmas period. Also, it's not limited to a lunchbox. if you're having friends in for drinks at happy hour, it's a great one to serve as a finger food.
Yeah, and you slice it up to put it in a lunchbox?
Yes, absolutely. So when you see the finished product, you'll see how you can serve it. And as I said, pop it into a container in the fridge, already sliced, and they can be used up at will. And it's also possible to freeze it. And the recipe makes, I'll refer to it as a log, makes 2 logs. So it is quite generous in how many it can feed.
Oh, wow. That's great. And I'm particularly happy that you have chosen that recipe, because that's definitely not a classic lunchbox item. And yeah, maybe if it's not working for your kids, then that's more than for a grown-up lunchbox idea. And definitely something you can impress the colleagues at the office with, that's for sure.
Well, one of the things I've noticed about the children today, they've got very sophisticated palates. It's quite horrifying when you say, Mummy, I would like lobster for my lunch today. And you go, oh my goodness. Here we go.
Not going to happen in this house.
Now, I've got to let this cool off for a bit. So before I add the meat. So I think that is recommended for about 5 minutes. I have done it in a shorter period of time. So I'm just wondering, Janie, if somebody wants to jump in and do
Me,
something.
I do, please.
Good, excellent. See you soon.
Oh, well done, Katya. I'm just about to stick these in the oven. So given that I had used all my cheese, I'm not going to put any more cheese on the top, but which is good because I want to show you. So this is what they look like when they're ready. So they've, you know, they're touching each other now, whereas before they weren't. So I've just brushed them with a bit of milk, just gives them a bit of a shine to them. And yeah, I'm just going to stick them in the oven. So they should be ready for show and tell by the end of the class.
Wow, they look great.
Okay.
Right. Whose turn?
I'm still here cooling off.
They're cooling off.
Cooling off. Look,
Next
I
to
think it's
Gianni.
probably okay to throw it in because ultimately it's all going to be cooked anyway. So I'm going to move on to the next thing, and it says add your reserved mince. So in it goes. Love it. And my baby spinach. And again, I've always been taught to take the stems off. Well, it's all getting chopped up and cooked. I think it's such a waste to not enjoy everything that's about.
What, Elizabeth, what else could you use instead of spinach?
Good question. I suppose you could put in, look, I actually quite often cook lettuce, especially if it's a bit tired in the fridge. It gets cooked into something and no one knows it's there. So some of the lettuces these days will probably be fine. Look, I love zucchini. Anything that's got a short cooking time, I think, and obviously like spinach, silver beet, another one. So there's a lot of possibilities.
Kale, maybe?
Oh, my pistachios. I'm very fond of pistachios, so I've got to remember to tear this back again. So I like the way you just get to dump it all in. Woohoo! I like the pistachios. I've just put a few extra in there. And now my cranberries. Ooh, what have I done with those? Here they go. 40 of those. Almost there. Beautiful. Again, a little bit over. The recipe doesn't know. In this case, it will add value. My 1 egg. Only 1 egg, which is amazing when you consider how much quantity I've got here. And this is my way of doing a ½ teaspoon of salt. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good. And you're probably going to ask me for pepper next. Oh, a pinch. So this is my pinch. There we go. And next, in goes the measuring cup. Now this is going to potentially splash out, so I just want to put my cup in properly, and that's 20 seconds. It's also cooking at 75 degrees, which is quite nice. And the blade is on reverse. So it says turn to speed 5. Now, because it's heating, it starts off a bit slow and then builds up momentum.
I have a, I wait until you finish.
Yeah.
Because someone's saying maybe best to remove apple seeds when including the core in recipes, as they contain amylactone, a substance that releases cyanide into the bloodstream when chewed and digested. However, apple seeds in small amounts do not contain enough cyanide to cause harm.
Okay.
That's just someone giving us a tip here
One
regarding
of
the
my
apple seeds.
One of my vegan friends recommended that. So I don't have the nutritional background on that, but she does it quite regularly. So thank you for that information. It'll make me more careful about what I'm advising. Now I'm going to turn the screen down so you can see this little bit. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got foil down, and that's my prosciutto, because in the goodness of time, I thought it would be a good idea to get that already laid out. So that's 6 slices. And the other thing I'm going to do is, it's about half of the recipe I need to put on this, and you put it in the middle. And what I normally do is I take out half of my mixture and I weigh it, just because I'm not very good with quantities and so forth. So it's just to make sure that I've done half. So I go out of my recipe and weigh it, and then I can go back into my recipe once I've done that. So I think that's pretty good.
So Melissa also mentioned you could also use Brussels sprouts as a green,
yes,
to put in.
just the cooking time on this is actually 50 minutes. So anything that's going to cook in that time is usable and workable. Now you see, I've laid this out so that I can just pull up my foil. And sometimes I have to do it manually, so we'll just do it in this order. And the other thing is that prosciutto, I always make sure that I get them at the deli to cut it for me. But sometimes it's quite a good idea. It asks for 12 pieces to get an extra piece in case it's thin and it's torn. So it's like you do a little patch, but that's gone quite well. So now, pack it down a little bit, twist the ends. And it sits in your aroma tray. Now I'm going to be doing 2, but you don't need to see me do that again. So that sits in the aroma tray like that, and then on it goes on top. I'm going to use one of the other machines to do that. The other thing is that sometimes I find the lid's a little bit difficult. I've just put a weight on there. The steam will still come out, but that's going to be all you need to see right now. So we can go off to the next person, and this is going to start steaming away.
Yeah, actually I have someone else saying, Elizabeth, you could also have it with mushrooms and dates, that's a nice idea.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's I like the idea of mushrooms and dates. So that'll be a good one to try.
Right, perfect. Thanks so much so far. Elizabeth, we're coming back to your kitchen in a moment, but now we want to head over to Monty, who's showing us an all-time classic, and these are granola bars. And she found that recipe actually on the recipe community, but we are going to share an alternative recipe from Cookie Dough also with you, in case you like or you prefer a guided recipe that you could also make instead. When it comes to the granola bars, then obviously when they are supposed to be for kids' school boxes, they need to be nut-free in 99% of all cases. So, Monty, what are you? Here we are.
Can you hear me all? Welcome to my kitchen.
Perfect. Hit it.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to do my own recipe, and the reason for that is because, yes, I wanted to send to school a cereal bar without nuts, and also in our house we don't like fruit in the well, my kids don't like the apples or cranberries or things like that in the cereal bar. So I thought, well, I have to come out with my own cereal bars. And so I will encourage everybody to do the same. If you see a recipe, I actually look for a recipe here. Let's see if I could go and see backwards. I save a recipe, so you can choose any of the cereal bar recipes and then change the ingredients along as you go. So this could be your base, and then you can do it to your own taste. Well, saying that, I'm going to go to my own recipe. So as I said, I've been developing this recipe by era and trial and error. So what I'm going to be using is basically, let's see. So let me see if I can do this like that. Okay. Oh my God, I just dropped my olive. I just dropped my coconut oil that I put in next to the oven because I prepared a previous batch for you guys not to wait to have the fast done. So I use coconut oil. I was putting it next to the oven, so then the coconut oil is liquid. So that's what we need. So I think I'm going to go to the scales. Right. So my coconut oil. There you go. This is coconut oil and honey to combine it. I just put honey. If you wanted to make a vegan option, I will use dates instead. So I will put first my date, mill it all, and then mix it with your coconut. So I'm going to put it there. As I said, I developed this recipe by trying different ones, and then the kids, no, I don't like this, or yeah, I like that. So it is a really good one to play around and use whatever you like in your house. So I'm gonna need to wash my hands. Thankfully, I have this pen because they are all covered in coconut oil. Okay. So I'm going to mix it for 10 seconds. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit of temperature, so just 30 degrees, just to melt it a little bit. And yeah, so while I just give a little wipe to my hands, bear with me.
I like these, the stylus pens also for the reasons, very often when you do the cooking, you have wet hands. And when you then touch the screen, it leaves little droplets on the screen. So these stylus pens are really good to help you keep on cooking. Keep everything.
Yeah, definitely. My hands were totally very, very sticky. Saying that, I will even, well, I think that I put 10 seconds. I'm going to, bear with me another 10 seconds. Because it was colder than I was expecting. Also, I'm going to tell you about the seeds that I'm going to use. So I'm not using any nuts, as I mentioned. I'm just using seeds. One thing that I pre-done with my seeds, for example, I'm using here flax seeds, sesame seeds, and chia seeds. They are better to digest if you mill them. because otherwise they are such a small seed that as soon as you eat it, they go the same way, and you're missing the benefits of them. They are really good flat seeds to lower your bad cholesterol. So they smell amazing. So I meal a big quantity and I just sprinkle on my yogurt, put it in my cereals. I put it also in milkshakes. So yeah, you can use it in all sort of things. Okay, so bear with me. So now I'm going to put vanilla paste and a little bit of salt. So after that, I put a little bit of vanilla paste. It says tablespoon, just cinnamon and a little bit of salt. I can share the recipe, but as I say, sort of like get an idea of the things that you like. If you don't like cinnamon, obviously don't use it. Another good one is to put a little bit of cardamom. It gives a very nice flavor. So what I'm going to do, because these powders, I wanted to mix it. So I'm going to mix it just a little bit before I add all the ingredients. Let me just, 5 seconds will be sufficient. I wanted to do that because otherwise, as soon as I start putting my oats and so on, if I put those ingredients without mixing the cinnamon, it would be just all in a lump. So you wouldn't have that cinnamon spread all over, as well as the vanilla paste. Okay, so as I said, another thing is that I'm using oats, but if you wanted to make it gluten-free, you can use quinoa flakes or rice flakes or a combine of both of them. But I'm using just my oats. I'm going to put my seeds. So in this case, I'm using whole pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds again. In my house, they all love it, but if in your house they don't like it, I will mill it and put it all together. They will get the health benefits from the seeds, and they won't be picky saying, I've seen green stuff there. These are the ones that they are flax seeds. Again, they are brilliant for lowering your bad cholesterol, chia seeds and sesame seeds. So put as many seeds as you want to. And total, I think my recipe, it has 125. Okay, I'm going to put a desiccated coconut. I like to buy the flake ones because I can see what I'm eating. You know, when it's already milled, you don't know if they bulk it with any starches. So if you want to mill it, you can mill it beforehand, but you like the flakes, it is. Okay. Then rice bubbles, I go for the completely plain, not sugar. I have plenty of sugar now, putting the honey there. I don't want any more sugar in there. The last bit, I have some tapioca flour.
Okay, so that's the binding agent here. Tapioca flour to keep it all together.
Yes, that's right. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to mix it all, and I'm going to use my spatula as well to help mix in. So I use all these spatulas. We all like different spatulas, all in red. As you can see, I like the color. But I will never use all the spatula apart of this one when my machine is moving. Because if you put another spatula, obviously it will be able to touch the blade, and your spatula will break in seconds. Okay, so I'm just going to press reverse because I just wanted to mix all the ingredients, not milling anything. and in a soft, 1 to 2, and I'm going to help it with my spatula a few seconds. I made 2 batches, so one that is already done, and this one, my kids asked me, can you please not do a coconut, a chocolate one? So the one that I made, it has chocolate. This one doesn't have chocolate. Funny enough, I didn't melt it properly, the honey, so I have to mix it a little bit longer. The beauties of life. Okay, now moving there. Okay, there you go. And it's as simple as that. Then I'm going to show you where I'm going to put them. I'm going to put them in these beautiful molds, and they're going to go in an oven between 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your oven. My oven tends to be quite hot. So yeah, for a little bit less than 15 minutes, they are more than ready in 180 degrees. So
can you also buy them at the MixShop?
This one, yes, you can. I have 2 different ones. So that was an old mold spar, and now this is the ones that you can buy them. Saying that, my kids prefer these ones because they are a little bit bigger.
Nice.
Nice. Thank you so much, Monsi. So I think we're going to see the end result in a couple of moments.
Yep, I'm going to be filling this, and then I will go back to you.
All right, wonderful. Okay, I'm a little bit conscious of the time because we've actually planned one more dish for you from Elizabeth, and I hope you still have a little bit time to stay on. And I promise Elizabeth is going to speed up this time and going to run you through the next one, which is also, I consider it still a classic, but it's also a great alternative lunchbox idea. Over to you, Elizabeth.
Well, I actually have done something to speed this up. I've already heated the oven. I've already done my lining my tray. I'll talk about that in a minute. And I've already grated my cheese because you don't want to see that again. You've already seen that. So we'll move straight on to spring onions. Again, I like my onions, so I've just popped in a couple extra. Semi-dried, sun-dried tomatoes, 50 grams. Here we go. Well, I've done that naughty thing again. I should have held it over. A couple more. So now I've got quite a bit of oil on my screen, which is going to make my life a bit miserable. So we'll just wipe that off. Very relaxed cook, you might notice. And on goes the lid. This actually is very quick, so we won't be keeping you too long. So that's 3 seconds at speed 7. Next, scrape down the side of the bowl. Just so you can see what I've been doing, or what Thermomix has been doing on my behalf. So just a quick down the sides of the bowl. And the next thing I've got to do is put in my eggs. Actually, you'll love this. It is so quick and easy. And 200 grams of pouring cream. So it's happily at 0. Up she goes, almost there. Oh, 7. Woo-hoo! Done. Beautiful. And the basil pesto, this you don't have to put in if you don't want to, but I actually quite like it. I've already measured it out, so in it goes. Don't you love it when you can just chuck everything in? And back to my ground pepper, a little bit of that, beautiful. And in with the measuring cup. and 5 seconds at speed 6.
Whilst this is doing that, we can quickly go to, I want to show you something. Okay, so just quickly, whilst Elizabeth is continuing, so I just took them out, and that's what I wanted to show you. Can you see how I can move my little muffins in here? I haven't greased it, right? So they're completely loose, so they're not stuck. So actually, I can just turn it over, and they will fall out as I promised. Okay, back to Elizabeth.
Still here. Okay, I've just popped the cheese in. And now it's going to have a little bit of a mix, speed 3 for 5 seconds. That's all you need to do. But what I'm going to show you is a very nice way of putting this into, see, I have the trays all ready. But what I'm going to do is pop my mixture into this. Now, hopefully I can do it without making a terrible mess because I'm a little bit on the clumsy side. So I'm going to stop there so we can move on, but just so that I can show you how this works. Great if I only knew what I did with the little other end, but oh, there it is. So you put that back on, then you take this end off and you just squeeze the mixture in. How good is that?
Can you put your camera a bit down, Elizabeth?
Sorry. Oh,
because then we can see. Yeah, perfect.
Sorry, I thought I'd done that. No. So I'm squeezing that in, and I'll tip it up so you can have a better look. But what a neat way to fill those up. And I'll just turn the tray up like that. So you don't need to see me do the rest of it, but you can see how this cake pen is absolutely brilliant for that's a task. So I'll get those into the oven and we can move on to back to Jenny, is it? Oh,
yeah.
That was quick, wasn't it? You said be quick.
Yeah, thank you. Going back to me.
Was it too quick?
That's all right. So, okay, so you prepare yours and they go into the oven. And whilst we're doing that, so it's a couple more minutes, I want to quickly show you and take you over to cookie dough. So, one moment, I'm going to share my screen with you. And here we are on cookie dough, and it took me straight to the shopping list. So one moment, here we go. So that's cookie dough, and if you have logged in yourself, then I can see I'm not logged in because I don't get my name here. Here we go. So now I'm logged in. So whenever you see your name, hellos, then you know that you're logged in. All right, what I wanted to quickly show you is, because we only showed you a couple of lunchbox ideas today, what happens if you type in lunchbox into the search bar here. So, and, all right, just typing that in. I want to show you that this is amazing. We have 330 results with dishes, suggestions. They're all being tagged with lunchbox ideas, and that's just in Australia. All right, so beautiful ideas that we found there, and when you start scrolling, you go like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So what I want you to do is go down here and choose what you like. So for example, that carrot and poppy seed muffin. So what you can do here, click on the 3 dots and add that to a collection that you make. I've already made a, did I? A lunchbox collection. 1 second. No, I haven't. Okay, I wanted to show you how to create a collection. So I call this one lunchbox ideas, and I'm going to save that recipe right into there. All right, so that's what you can do. Obviously, some of our recipes from today are also on that list. Here are the prosciutto and basil egg cups that Elizabeth is currently doing. All right, so once you have your recipe made, so you can go then here into my recipes and access them from here. All right, so now we are going to, you can see I've also got some German recipes in here. So these are all collections, and here are the ones that I have created. And here we go, where's my lunchbox ideas? Here's the recipe. So now I want to, let's quickly go to my week, because that's all the recipes that we're doing today, or variations of it. So the honey cereal bars are similar to the ones that Monty is doing. So if you want to have the recipe guided, then you can definitely also use this recipe here. However, now I want to add these recipes to my shopping list, and that's just quickly something I want to show you. So now I've added these 2 recipes to my shopping list, and if I go here onto show ingredients, then I can go through all the ingredients that are here. So for example, the water I do have at home. White wine is a staple in my house, so I don't have to buy that. Running out of quinoa. And so on. Okay, so you can go through the list here and tick them off as you go through your pantry. And now I want to draw your attention to this button here, order ingredients. So if you don't have time, because you need to go back to the office, so who has time for shopping now? You can order all these ingredients online. And that will take you to a Woolies platform. So at the moment, we're only working with Woolworths together. And then you can select your store. That's already done in my case. But I've chosen a local store to my area. And here is your shopping list. So you can just then go through them again. You can also swap out ingredients if you're not happy with the suggestion they have here, and order them straight online. Or have them delivered, or go on to click and collect. All right, and yeah, so that's definitely something I wanted to share with you. I'm going to stop share now. I hope you can see me again. If you take out the lunchbox, if you take out the Australian filter from the lunchboxes, then you will have even more suggestions. For example, so there will be then worldwide recipes in there. If you are limited to certain languages, then you can put in a language filter. So filters are your best friends on Cookie Dough, and you can do that now with a tag like lunchboxes, but you can also do that with ingredients. So whatever you find in your fridge, in the crisper, all the way in the back, and that really needs to go, use Cookie Dough for inspiration. I always suggest also, Cookie Dough is basically the answer to all of your kitchen problems that you have. So if you are dealing with a lot of leftovers and you're like me, I don't want to throw out any food, my hot tip here is plan what you eat and eat what you plan. All right, so now I showed you how to find recipes in there. And I hope that was something new I could tell you, and that you are excited about the online ordering straight out of Cookie Dough. Okay, so I think we can start. Yeah, we're going back to Melissa. She is on the list to show us the results. Woo!
Dun, dun, dun. There are the cheesy mud scrolls.
Amazing.
Wow, I'm going to come to your house now.
Smell. Well, you can, because I've got the chef's cheap one at the end there. Another little tip for you: take them off the baking tray as soon as you can, because if you let them sit, they'll sweat and they'll get a wet bottom. So you know that. So I just slid them straight off. I've got one child that's just come in, he'll be hungry, so he'll have a couple, but I stick those in Ziploc bags, stick them in the freezer, and then for lunch boxes, take them out in the morning, and by recess they're defrosted and they're ready to go, and they're beautiful. The other thing that I did want to, I know we were talking about MixShop items before. So as I said, I got my timings mixed up, made a batch of dough an hour earlier. So I turned it into bread, as you do. But I just wanted to show you that this is the bread knife from the MixShop. I've had a few bread knives in my time. This is fantastic. It actually comes with a little guide that you can stick in there. and you can guide how big or how thin or how wide you want your slices. Personally, I don't need it anymore. I find it a bit of a nuisance. But if you're looking for a great bread knife, and it makes all the difference in the world when you're cutting your bread, if you've got a good bread knife, and this one is a beauty, and this will cut through a really crunchy sourdough just as easily as my little soft white block loaf that will rival Baker's Delight. So there's my bread tips for today.
Looks amazing, Melissa.
Thank you, Katja. Smells good too, I can tell you.
All right, fantastic. I have just headed back to my oven and took out the larger one, so bear 1 second with me. As I'm getting them out, oops, without doing what Monsi did, dragging them all over the floor. Here we go. Oopsies. I draped them here already. So I'm going to bend that a little bit over. All right, so here you can see I've used them also in the silicone mold. Same here, you can see I can twist them, so a little bit hot. I let them cool for a couple of minutes before I take them out. So this is the adult version, let's say, and this is the kids version for the lunch boxes. And I just have, I just pop them in here, and I've made a little, that's a 5-second salad. So we do have a lot of these chopped salads. They on cookie dough. That actually was based on a broccoli salad, but I didn't have broccoli but cauliflower. So whatever you have in the kitchen, just pop it in there and use it up. You could have that in just a little bit container on the side, or if you do have these little plastic ones, you can pop them in here and have a little bit of dip that goes with it. But that's a beautiful lunchbox there, very colourful, and so depending on the liking of your kids then, or the adult ones, then just pop everything in there that they like. All right, so who's next? I think we're going with Elizabeth.
To Monty or to Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
Yes. Elizabeth next.
Just need to unmute, Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so the first thing I did was the terrine. I'll just turn the screen down so you can see that. Is that visible well?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so
nice.
Absolutely delicious. I'm going to be really naughty. Sorry. So nice. The other one is still cooking in the oven, but these are ones that I did earlier because I knew that we wouldn't have time. And what I did with this, I put zucchini around the edges instead of the prosciutto, so that's a vegetarian option. And that's how they look with the prosciutto done. So, I mean, these ones I cooked in this silicone container, so they just pop out. The other ones I've done with the paper. They will also pop out. So that's my contribution today. I hope you all give it a go.
Wonderful, thank you. I just had to also have a little bit of taste test here with my mini muffins. Here we go, so it's nicely cooked inside. And we're going back to Monsi's kitchen.
Hello. So yes, this is my cereal bars. I don't know if you can see them.
Nice, yes.
This is before cook. So as you can see, they are quite pale, so they get a little bit more toasty and brown. And these molds make them really easy to pop them out. You obviously can do it on a tray, but before it is completely cold, you have to cut them. And yeah, it's a little bit tricky. So I thought, well, I like things easy, so that's why these trays are so good. And yes, and you have the perfect portions. Otherwise, the kids come with a measuring tape to the measuring tape, measuring which one is bigger. So now they are all the same size.
Oh, wow. And Monty, how long did they take in the oven?
As I said, it depends a little bit of your oven. My oven gets really, really hot. So really less than 15 minutes. Oh, so wow. I would say the first time that you make them, keep an eye on them. Because you can burn them quite easily. What you want is just to caramelize or toast a little bit the honey and you know, the sugars from, if you put date or any fruit, you want to caramelize that and get that toasty look. I can even talk to you.
Okay.
Thanks for the tip.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks so much to my team for cooking today with me. Before I let you go, a quick reminder of our current host rewards program. So we showed you a couple of things, the maps and the thermo server. And just so you know, in the month of January and February, we also have the Meter Plus as a potential host reward for you. Talk to your consultant about the details about how to get your hands on them. If you don't know what a meter is, it's a meat thermometer and how this works. I do have a video on my YouTube channel, find me under Jenny Thermo-Crazy, where I made the Korean barbecue pork with a rice salad. And I'm using the meter there and explain what it does, and have a look if that's of interest for you. If you have not a TM6 yet, so the machines we were using here today, and you're either thinking of getting one on your kitchen bench or thinking of upgrading to one, I also wanted to show you quickly the gift with purchase we have this month. And this is the barbecue cookbook that also has a lot of meter recipes in there. Absolutely brilliant, because a lot of it's not only meat, but it's also a lot of salads and sides that go along on a barbecue with them. And because we're still in holiday mode and in holiday season, and as it turns out, we can't really go far for the time being. So having holidays at home or in the closer area is the way to go. So why would you go on holiday and have it harder than having it at home? So our suggestion here is take a Thermomix with you. And that's why the other part of the gift with purchase this month is also a travel bag. So this one fits your TM5 and TM6, by the way. And it has, inside has compartments where all the accessories with your Thermomix, including the Varoma, fit in there safely, and you can travel with your Thermomix to a holiday home and have it, and think about lunchbox ideas from over there. Okay, now we have really made it to the end, and I'm so grateful that you stayed with us a little bit longer than expected, but I hope we could entertain you a little bit on this not so beautiful sunny day today, but at the moment the sun is peeking through just in time. And thanks for sharing your afternoon with us, and I hope we could inspire you with a little bit different things for the next time, and I hope you embrace the lunch boxes and have fun in the kitchen. That's the most important part. If you do have any questions, reach out to your consultants, either on the Bayside page if you like, or directly with them. And I hope I see you again next time. Just watch this space for further details and further events that we're going to do for you throughout the year. Thanks. Bye now.